Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Welcome back to a new video on the channel. It's a roundup of the deadline day. Not that much has happened, but to give my thoughts overall on the transfer window as well and let you know what has happened over the last 24 hours. As always, be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel, and in the comment section down below, please give me your ratings out of 10 for this transfer window, because I've seen, to be fair, different opinions, different results on Twitter and social media on what people are classing this transfer window as, a success, a failure, and of course I'll give my thoughts throughout this video as well. But the minor success of today is that Tolu Arokodare has officially joined Wolverhampton Wanderers. We knew it was going to happen for the last couple of days or so. It was just a matter of when, and he has officially been announced today on a 4-year deal plus an additional year for Wolves, coming in from the Belgian club Genk. Where he was the top goal scorer last season in the Belgian Pro League. Of course, Wolves have all the pictures, all the articles and quotes on their website. He seems to be pretty happy to be here. He seems to enjoy the project, whatever's going on there at the club. He has admitted, though, that he's not going to be completely match fit as of yet because he's not played a hell of a lot of football. So he's probably only got sort of 30 to 40 minutes in him at the moment. So that's something we'll have to bear with. But of course, at the moment, he'll probably be second fiddle to Jorgen Strand Larsen, who I'll touch on in a second as well. I believe Tolu is off to Nigeria on his international duty. So probably in the next 10 days or so, he will meet up properly with the Wolves squad for the first time. One of the other players that I spoke about yesterday was Josh Brownhill from Burnley. Some sources suggesting that Wolves were in talks to sign the player, but that was quashed earlier on today, especially after the signing of Tolu. It was said by a number of sources that that was Wolves done for the day. I've been told and I understand that Vitor Pereira did not sort of warm to the idea of signing Josh Brownhill, as he didn't really fit the way that, or what Vitor wanted to do as a midfielder. So in the end, it wasn't a player that the club actively looked to pursue much further. Of course, midfield is the big gaping hole really for Wolves at the moment. João Gomes and Andre, the two sort of natural midfielders there. Marshall Monetzi and Jean-Luc Bellegarde in that role. Don't fill many people with confidence. Wolves can still dip into the free agent market if they like. And, I mean, I've got a screenshot here and it doesn't make pretty reading, to be honest. Josh Brownhill, who we've just looked at and sort of turned away at the top of that list there. You've got other players, Josh Da Silva, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Are they going to be up to it? Other players further down the list don't really play that role. John Joe Shelvey, no chance. Dele Alli is a player that's just become available as well. But yeah, not players that fill you with confidence, to be honest. But it'll, depend whether, what happens really in that position. We'll look at the first team as well in a second. But the midfield begs the question: why on earth were Tommy Doyle and/or Boubacar Traore allowed to leave without adequate replacements available and ready in that position? Really strange to sanction both of those deals. And I'll repeat what I say in a second about Sasa Kalajdzic. I really do understand from a club's point of view there is a real fine line between wanting your players to get out there, get fit, get first team match experience, but on the opposite side of that, you need depth in your current squad as well. So you've really got to find that balance there. And I think, unfortunately, for Wolves, they've just got it completely wrong in this instance. And the same goes for Sasa Kalajdzic. I mentioned this yesterday. Of course, a lot of people frustrated with this, losing a potential of a player. And again, it's that fine line. Sasha's been injured a long, long time, not started many, if bar his first game for Wolves. I don't know if he started any other Premier League games. I don't believe so. I think he started 1 or 2 cup games. But this year he's fit. He's got to go out there and play football matches regardless. But of course, you're leaving us a striker short. So I'm not so unhappy with the Sasha decision to let him go out alone. However, today it was said by Liam Keane that him and Pedro Lima still both Wolves actively looking for loan moves for both of those players. Sasa Kalajdzic was linked with a move to West Bromwich Albion earlier on today. Thankfully, that one didn't come to fruition. Sources close to West Brom said that was wide of the mark. But of course, the deadline in England is now done. Sasha is still a Wolves player. Turkey, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and the Netherlands are leagues that he could go to. Out of the two, you'd probably say it's going to be Turkey or the Netherlands. I actually think he'd do quite well in the Eredivisie, to be fair. But it's a big year coming up for Sasha. He needs game time. And again, I didn't think he was awful when he came on Saturday, even during the week against West Ham. So I don't think it'd be the worst idea having him stick around. But of course, with Arokodare, he ends up being sort of third choice striker, and even, not that it's much to look into, but he started behind Hwang as well on Saturday, so you could argue that he's fourth choice as well. Pedro Lima still at the club. He does need a loan move. He's probably not progressed as quick as I would have wanted him to as a Wolves player. However, for him, for about a month from the middle of September to middle of October, he's going to be with the Brazil under-20, so that's probably put some clubs off, but definitely in January he needs a loan move if he doesn't get one over the next few days or so. Now, very quickly looking at the squad, thinking about obviously position by position goalkeepers, we've still got Jose Sarr, Dan Bentley and Sam Johnston. Not a massive upgrade, but not a massive downgrade on what we had already. Of course, some people would have wanted to maybe look for a new first-team goalkeeper, but I don't think that was ever going to be the number one priority for Wolves. It was a weird market for goalkeepers as well, to be fair. But yeah, no real downgrade or upgrade. Obviously, losing Tom King, which I don't think anyone will lose any sleep over, to be completely honest. The defenders, I think Wolves have got the numbers in it. And it's really weird. At the start of the window, we would have said the defence was probably our strongest area. With your right wing backs currently, you've got Keanu Hoover, who's going to be given an opportunity for, until January at least. Jackson Chichua, who's come in. I didn't dislike his cameo or what we've seen so far in the sort of two lots of sort of 45 to 60 minutes that we've seen of him so far, sort of game and a half we've seen really. Pedro Lima obviously an option, Rodrigo Gomez an option. You've then got Ladislav Krejci who's come in. We can't really judge too much on him. We've really got to hope that he can hit the ground running and be a real positive player for us, along with Totti, Mosquera, Agbadu, Santiago Bueno, and then you got your left wing backs. Obviously, we had Matt Doherty, to the centre-backs. You've got your left wing-backs of David Muller-Wolf and Hugo Bueno. So from an area about 2 months ago that everyone was pretty satisfied with, it's all of a sudden gone to a real weird sort of area that no one's really satisfied with overall. I think the main issue for me is the two wing-backs. You've lost Ryan Aït-Nouri and Nelson Semedo, who added a lot for us going forward. Not necessarily in terms of numbers, but always a threat. In the first opening 3 games of the season, we're just yet to see that from Hugo, Muller-Wolf. Chichua added a little bit, and Keanu Hoover struggled a little bit for the first game or so. So I don't know on the defence. I have a feeling that Vitor's going to have to shake that up drastically to and hope something comes good with that back three, really, especially. The midfield obviously is a massive issue. I think Andre and João Gomez, two brilliant footballers. However, Vitor's had a few little wobbles on Andre. I really hope that his head is still in the game between now and January at the very least. And then outside of those two, you're struggling. Andre and João Gomez are sort of destroyers. They're going to pick up bookings. No doubt they'll pick up suspensions. Are you filled with confidence with Marshall Monetzi and Jean-Ric de Bellegarde as one or if not both of your holding midfielders? Probably not. I don't mind Bellegarde, but again, we saw at Bournemouth, he struggled a little bit. Agbadu pinged a pass at him and he miscontrolled it and ultimately led to the goal. Marshall Monetzi, real question marks over his place in this football team at the moment. And then the forward areas, again, just a little bit all over the place. If you look at the Wolves first team website, Jürgen Strand-Larsen, yes, it's great that he stayed. You've got Jean Arias, who I think has been deployed completely wrong so far. Really hope he comes good because we're all quite excited about him coming in. Hwang really struggling especially to get back on the fans' good books despite his goal on Saturday. Tolu already on the website as well. Really hope that he can hit the ground running and be a real presence and a player that can come off the bench and change the games. I think that's what Wolves are struggling with. We haven't got a lot of those game changers and sort of talisman that can come off the bench and do something at the moment. Sasha could be on his way out. Tawanda Chirewa, I think, just isn't good enough, to be completely honest. Fer Lopez, we had some real bright signs when he came on against Everton. But does Vitor trust him to start a football match yet? I don't know. Enzo Gonzalez, I think he's out with Paraguay under-20, so he's going to miss a chunk. And then Mateus Mane. So ultimately, there's out of that group of players like 4 or 5 players, which I think, yes, we can win football matches with you in the football team. But the rest of it just, I don't know. There's just not enough spark from the rest of that team, to be completely honest. But like I said, I don't think the transfer window was a disaster when you look at the amount of players that I've just mentioned. But it was just far from a success for Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think if you had a very good midfield player in there, whether it was Josh Brownhill or whether Wolves spent a bit of money and ended up bringing in someone like Hayden Hackney today, I think it would have been, people would have warmed more to a 6 or 7 out of 10. But at the moment, for me, you're looking below a 5, sort of 4 or 5 at the very, very top end. I don't understand how the people, whether it's Fosun, whether it's Tetty, whether it's Matt Jackson, the director of football, whether it's Vitor, has watched those first 3 games and come into today thinking, yeah, we just need a striker, that's fine. We really need to push the boat out there and bring somebody else in. We couldn't really afford to be picky today, which obviously looks like we have been doing. A lot of good loan players on the market, which Wolves haven't gone for. So it is a little bit frustrating. Of course, there's going to be people mentioning to me about your Harvey Elliott's and so on. Ultimately, when teams like Forest or Aston Villa, in this case, are looking at them and interested, they've got European football, they've got their sights much higher in the table than Wolves. That's how much we've regressed. There's not a project here anymore. There's not a Nuno type system or Nuno type sort of mentality where I used to go into every game at Molineux thinking we can win, whether it was against, I don't know, whether no disrespect, whether it was against Leicester City or Manchester City. You know, I always thought that Wolves could win a game at Molineux, and normally under Nuno it happened. Just haven't had that feeling for a long, long time. And at the moment, I think a lot of people are the same. I'm almost going to the football. I'm almost doing social media and talking Wolves just because I have to or for the sake of it. And it shouldn't feel like that. And that's how far we've regressed. Look, Jurgen Strand Larsen staying at the club. Should that be praised as a success? No, I don't think so. That should just be a given. Fair play to Jeff, or you know, sort of having that backbone to say no to the player because Jurgen was open to leaving the club. But you know, with the value that Newcastle were offering, no doubt that was tempting. But Wolves made the right call and the correct call, really. You know, anything else would have been an absolute disaster from that front anyway. He was our player. He was under contract at Wolves, so that should just be a given anyway, to be completely honest. And no doubt we'll get into January and somehow Fosun will magic of another 100 million, which we probably should have had available in the summer. You know, this is how far we've regressed, where we're having to get into January over the last couple of years where we've had to gamble and, bail themselves out. And then we're in a mess for a few years with financial fair play or PSR because we've had to spend big to get ourselves out of this mess. There'll be people, and I've seen it on social media today, saying, oh, I just want to get relegated. I just want to get in the Championship, have a reset. It's so difficult. It's a horrible, horrible football league to get out of. I've mentioned it many times before on videos or on the podcast. We don't want to go down to the Championship regardless. We want to stay in the Premier League, and if we want to reset, what we need to do is, I mean, they've tried it this summer. For me, it's not worked. Have a reset at the top, but more than likely going to have to move the ownership on. If Fosun, they're under big pressure now, but if they don't want to continue back in this club with big signings, they're trying to be too clever. And with a team in the position that we're in at the moment, we cannot afford to be too clever. The team and the squad is not good enough to be clever with signings or trying to penny pinch here and there or look at one for the future. It just won't work, and it can't work like that at the moment. And I was sort of lying to myself throughout the summer thinking, we're better than Sunderland, we're better than Burnley. I still think we're better than Burnley and Leeds, no doubt. But that third relegation spot is definitely up for grabs, and Wolves are definitely going to be in the mix for that unless something changes or unless Vitor can pull some results out of the bag sooner rather than later. I do think we've got the quality to compete at a level, but that level is going to be around 16th, 17th if we're going to be staying in the Premier League. Vitor's got to sort things out soon. As a person, as a human being, I think, yeah, great. But ultimately, he needs to show now that he can handle the pressure. He can shake things up if needed, whether that's a change of shape, whether that's a change of personnel at the back, because the back three looked out of it. Big few weeks coming up. I think this international break is crucial for him now. Of course, there's going to be a group of players that are going to be missing, but the core of his squad, especially his back three, are going to be with him. So he needs to work on that and see what we can do. But this is a crucial period, and for me, especially today, I'm going to describe it as disappointing because Wolves had the opportunity now. There were lots of movements going on for two. Obviously, we brought one in, but another one or two signings on top of it today, and we would have looked in a much better position and much better shape. But unfortunately, we've got depth in the wrong areas. I think there's too many not very good forward players. Even that, to be fair, I think we'd probably need another number 10, another midfield, and I think a lot of Wolves fans would have been satisfied. And again, like I said earlier, pushing it towards a 7 out of 10. But ultimately, today's been real disappointing. But like I said at the start of the video, guys, do let me know your thoughts on this transfer window. Let me know your ratings out of 10, if anything. But this is going to be a difficult few months up until January anyway. And hopefully Vitor and the boys on the pitch can prove us wrong anyway. But appreciate the support throughout the transfer window. Anyone that's clicked on a video, click like, subscribe to the channel. The people on social media that send me links every sort of 5 or 10 minutes or asking me questions, I really do appreciate it. Time for me to have a rest now. I'm sure we'll be back with the podcast in a couple of days to dissect what happened on Saturday and the remainder of the transfer window as well. But look after yourselves, guys. Enjoy your week, and I'll catch you on the next one.